What in your childhood led you into music?
My mother.
Wow.
I wish I had a picture nearby. Yeah, my mother, when I was very young, about 2 years old, she started putting me on her lap. And she's a beautiful piano player. She also played guitars, That's the first ones I remember, was her and her father and my family. They sang. It was important to them to make music, So that's the first introduction that I remember.
So what kind of piano background did you have? Did your mom teach you the whole time?
I remember my mother teaching me before I could even, before I remember eating. So it wasn't even like she was teaching me, it was sort of like I was an attachment that she'd just take with, So she'd just snatch me up and put me on her lap. And when that wasn't happening, you were always hearing singing or humming or, it was just so musical. So I'm very lucky that way, really. It was impressed deeply into what I am.
That's terrific. What kind of piano student were you?
When I was a child, there's a joke that, my mother had tried to get me piano lessons with an elderly lady who taught at a little center when I was little, and I was so resistant to authority in every way that I think I socked her in the stomach a little bit. She slapped my hand maybe, and I socked her in the stomach. It was an altercation. So, yeah, that didn't go well before I was about 17. And then when I met Franco, he really changed me. And there was a point when I first met him, and I was a very obstinate teenager, and just a total mess. And I met him, and he brought me to his house and his wife, and he sat me down, and he said, "How you doing?" And I said, "What makes you think that I would want you to be my teacher?" Oh, it was awful. And he laughed at me. He went, "Okay, so I'm just going to turn around here, and I want you to take all that anger and bang your fists and your feet on the piano, just slam them right down." He said, "Okay," and I went, "Poof." And he named every note that I was hitting from the bottom to the top of the piano with all of my limbs. And I said, "Okay," and that was a turning point where I really started to listen very much more carefully, I think, to what was around me and what was being said to me and what was being played around me. Just caught my attention, he was very powerful in my life for that reason, in a very short, relatively short period of time.
What do you think the crucial things that teachers need to know are when they're helping a young singer-songwriter with their composing, about helping them have the tools they need to be themselves, but still have some discipline?
Well, the truth is that they are themselves already. So, what I think I try to do when I'm teaching young people, particularly people with emotional difficulties or who tend to have blockades against learning because of impatience or a different sense of understanding verbally, different communication methods. So really, I wouldn't say too much. I would listen, I would listen to the individual child, and I would tell teachers to listen and avail yourself to exploring in which particular way this young person learns, because it's very individual. And every time I'm with a different young person, I have a 6-year-old, 12-year-old, they all have deep, deep emotional problems, and that's one of the reasons why I believe they should be taught music. It's a life-saving mechanism for children who've had to endure tremendous trauma. It's harder as a teacher to figure that out because it takes our patience. So, you know, when you're dealing with a child, the situation is different than an adult. And when we're used to interfacing with adults, and then we find a child who's just as intelligent and talented as an adult, but has a different way of communicating and less life experience, these are very subtle things. I don't think it's black or white, but it definitely takes patience, deep attention to individual qualities that can be brought out and harnessed, and love. It takes great love to teach. It's hard.
Is there a point where the artist Sarah and the person Sarah can be divided?
It would be a mistake, I think, if that ever happened, or if I ever felt that way. So for now, it's just me.
How do you deal with those rougher patches?
Well, the same way we deal with everything. I think you just have to proceed with calm resolve. You do what you dream of. It's not as complicated as people make it. It's really a matter of will. And you have to love it. You have to love what you're doing. Otherwise, you have no chance. So if you notice, people that don't do what they love and they do something all the time, they get very sad. There's a reason for that, you know? Human nature is called to do things. Our genetics and our conditioning and everything we are pulls us towards certain paths. And because of conditional circumstances or financial or economic circumstances, people often compromise that because of a path of whatever they have to take. Sometimes it's the path of least resistance, because I've known people who just have nothing, but they have everything. So it's a funny life.
If you could tell aspiring young musicians anything about the choices that are involved in being an artist and a musician, what would you tell them?
I would say make sure this is what you really, really want. And do it. There's a lot of different ways to talk to young people, but the best way is to help them start having discussions with themselves. Why are you doing this? You know? Is it because someone else wants you to? Or is it because you love it? Is it because it helps you breathe? So just to have somebody with a little rope tow going, come on, you know, come here. I love you, come here, I'm trying to show you something. And all it is just listening to them and trying to help them cultivate what's already there, you know, and not putting them down. Don't ever let anybody put you down, you know, or tell you what it is that you're supposed to do. That's not how it works. Don't ever let anybody put you down. You know, young people, the only way is they gotta just learn it themselves and be very persistent.
I appreciate your talking with us. If you have any questions or you wanted to add anything, now's a great time.
Just love each other, and thank you very much for doing this. I enjoyed talking with you today.